Hi, welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Another exciting show, another exciting guest with my temporary, because I got to say temporary because Yolanda is the one that occupies that seat. Co-host of the day, Indiana's own comedian herself, Elizabeth Urquhart, to the show. What's up, Elizabeth?
Hello, how's it going?
You're co-hosting with me today because we got to do part
exciting.
two.
We do. It's exciting.
Such an interesting journey about your career, your comedy, your nurse, your spirituality, and more important, we got a common thread. We're both Sigmas. Boom.
Team Sigma, baby.
Yeah. That energy's like flowing like crazy.
Who knows? Our next guest could be one too.
Let me tell you about this next guest. Not only is she beautiful, not only is she setting the social media on fire with the new podcast, Rooted Real Talk. I like that name, Rooted Real Talk. That's almost like what we were doing.
No, yeah. I mean, it sounds, I'm going to have to check it out now. But yeah, I mean, I love that Rooted Real Talk.
We're going to know about Rooted Real Talk, what it's like coming out of sobriety, having a beautiful husband, a beautiful business over 10 years in the plumbing industry.
Congratulations.
And in California. Wouldn't I love to be in California right about now?
I don't know. It's a mixed bag, California. It's beautiful out there, but it's expensive.
Well, as long as there's no fires. I would hate to somebody knocking on my door.
No s'mores for me.
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
I'll bake it.
Let's welcome to the show the host of the podcast, Rooted Real Talk. What's her name?
Jamie Mallek.
Jamie, what's up, baby girl?
How's it going?
Hi.
Doing great. Such a great smile.
Yes.
Thank
it's
you.
So big and bright and beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much.
Before we get started, Jamie, tell the viewers a little bit about who you are before we get into the podcast itself. Who exactly is Jamie?
Sure. Well, number one, I would say I am a follower of Jesus Christ. He is my Lord and Savior. I find my identity in him alone. I'm very ambitious. I'm very goal oriented and purpose driven. I love fitness. It's one of my passions. I just love the challenge of like pushing myself further and pushing my limits. I'm also a wife. I'm also a twin, which most people don't know about. I've got 2 baby dogs. They're my little fur babies. And then I love work. I'm into work, and I've got my new podcast that you mentioned coming out. And so that's been my main focus right now.
You mentioned a twin. I never knew you had a twin. I follow you on social media. Where's she hiding there? Is she doubling for you on these social media platforms?
You know what? We're actually fraternal. So you couldn't even really tell that we're twins at all. We look more like sisters now, but even growing up, we were so opposite. People would come over and they'd be like, why are you here, Jamie? I'm like, I live here. You know, people didn't even know that we were sisters, let alone twins. But yeah, that's a fun fact a lot of people don't know.
So even though you're fraternal twins, do you still get like those super twin powers that they talk about?
Wonder twin powers.
Yeah. They can finish each other's sentences, or if one of them gets hurt, they feel it. Like, is it?
I get asked this often, actually. And I think it's more so the fact that we just know each other so well that we can finish each other's sentences, you know? We don't really feel each other's
for 9 months.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
So let me ask the question. I was looking at your questionnaire, and there was, something that really struck me. You dealt with, alcoholism and coming out of sobriety. Congratulations on that. When did all that take place for you, and how did you navigate and to get to where you are today?
Thank you so much. That's definitely been a journey. I am about 1.5 years sober now officially, and it's just been the best decision I ever made. It started off when I was younger. I started, Discovery Bay, where I grew up, is a very small town, party town. So even like in high school is when the party started, and we just started drinking young. And I just found myself in this like spiral rabbit hole for years on end. And I loved the party. It was so much fun. I was also very shy and introvert, so it helped me to break the ice. That was my excuse for having a drink when I was out. But then I found in my mid-20s that I was blacking out all the time unintentionally. And it just became a disaster. And it wasn't until I met my now husband, Ron, who actually kind of slapped reality in my face of like, this isn't okay. Something's going on here. And I started to recognize it a little bit at a time. I would wake up just feeling this shame and guilt. And I think that was the conviction that God was trying to get me aware of what was going on. And so I slowly started to stop and slow down. And finally I was like, you know what? I don't even need this. I'm just going to stop altogether. And so I just decided to stop and quit drinking. And it's just been the best decision I ever made.
Did your husband, your now husband, did he witness these blackouts? Did he witness your personality, your destructiveness happening in front of him?
He did. Yes. Yes. And that's why he actually said, we had a hard conversation one day, and he was like, this isn't what I signed up for. And so it was finally like, okay, I understand, like, something's wrong here. Like, I'm not acting as I'm supposed to be when I'm in these moments.
Were you heavily consuming alcohol prior to meeting him?
I was definitely a partier before,
Did he know this? Did he know this?
He did. Yeah. We went out all the time together. It was just never really an issue before. And I don't know what had changed in my body composition, or something happened where I would just start blacking out more. I couldn't handle it like I thought I used to be able to. And so it just progressed worse and worse as we hung out more and more together.
Did it put you in harm's way? I'm gonna show you what I mean, because we used to throw parties all the time at our house, and I have a friend. I'm not gonna mention her name, and I had never been around people that really drink heavily. I don't even like liquor. Heck, I can keep a wine cooler in the icebox for 2 years before I even, consume it. But I remember her telling me that, she would drink until she blacks out, and she came to our party, and I was so petrified, and she snuck out the house.
Mm.
After, yeah, she left the party and literally blacked out. What I'm saying here with you and him, did he witness, or did you put yourself in situations that could have been life threatening for you that he saw, or could have potentially have happened to you?
Not while I was with him. No. He just saw my attitude change. I mean, thankfully I wasn't put in harm's way anytime I was with him. There were some occasions prior to meeting him where I was, and thankfully, I mean, with God's grace, I got out of those situations.
Give me an
But
example. Don't leave me hanging like that.
with
What's
that,
what's an example? Don't leave me hanging like this. This is rooted real talk.
yeah. Well, what first started, I say in my story that there were many occasions where God was trying to wake me up and get my attention prior to going as far as I had. And the very first thing was when I was 16. It was one of the first parties I had gone to, and I was roofied and I was raped at that party. And that should have been an awakening in my perspective of like, hey, their drinking's a problem. You shouldn't be going down this path.
Mm.
So there was that happened. When I was 22, I got in an awful car wreck. Thankfully, nobody else was involved, but that involved drinking as well. There was all these moments that should have woke me up to stop drinking at that moment, because alcohol was involved in everything. But it took Ron, telling somebody who was of meaning to me to really wake me up and like understand, okay, something's happening here. You need to change your ways here.
When you was I'm sorry that happened to you, but what we're trying to do here is to educate, empower, and still show that you got that beast mindset. So let's go back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
At 16, when you had the roofie and stuff, did you talk to your parents? Did you press charges? I mean, that should have been, I would think, I don't know, you're in the medical field, that would have been awakening for me. What do you think?
Well, I'll tell you, medically speaking, most women don't report because of the particular. So they're actually sought after at parties. So essentially, the assailants probably knew. They probably already had her targeted.
Okay, I got you.
And the thing is when you actually report something like that, there's always that fear of being judged, because let's face it, as women, we're judged, and she was in a delicate state with the alcohol. She probably, even if it went to court, they could sit there and say, well, she was
her word against his.
Exactly.
Did you know the people that performed this on you, that took this action upon you?
I didn't know them personally. They were already out of high school. They were just like, I think about 5 years older than I was at the time. I didn't know him personally. I knew the name, but how it happened actually was, it was interesting because I think that was God's hand was in that too, kind of protecting me in a way, because there was only one thing I remember from that night, and that was saying, stop, no, this hurts, I don't want to do this. But it was black. I couldn't see anything. I couldn't, nothing. And so, but I woke up and I was hurting like crazy. My pants were on inside out, my underwear on one leg, and I left going, something happened, but I didn't know what.
Wow.
And then my friend had asked me, like, hey, did something happen? Because things weren't right last night. And so then we kind of put the pieces together, and how the cops were involved. In fact, the next day at school, I had missed a couple of my first periods because I told my best friend, and she and I were just like in this together. Like, I was bawling, she was bawling. We ended up ditching school for the first couple of periods. And so the school called my house, and they let my parents know, she hasn't been here. So then, I get in trouble. Hey, what happened? And so then I just couldn't lie. I couldn't hold back. So I told my parents what had happened. And when I got home from school that day, there was a cop at my house. And so I had my undergarments and everything still like unwashed. And so they had taken things, they got DNA. There was actually 5 men involved. I don't remember pressing charges.
Pretty sure the state probably picked it up. In some certain situations, the state will pick up the charges.
Well, she was underage.
Oh, okay.
You was underage. Yeah. So something had to happen. So my question here is, when this happened,
Mm-hmm.
and it came to the attention of your mom and dad,
Mm-hmm.
did you let them know that you was participating in drinking as well? And had drinking really become, how long had you been really drinking prior to that happening?
Probably just maybe a few months or a year. I had my first drink when I was 15, but we weren't just like heavily partying already at that point. So I here and there throughout the year until that point. And my parents did know that we were doing things, when I was going to parties and stuff. And so, but they did find out, what exactly had happened as everything kind of unfolded throughout that experience.
Hold that thought 1 second.
Sure.
Okay, I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
Now we're going to take off from where we left off. You can have a seat right here. You're fine. You're fine. So, hold on, my buddy Albert just came in. Have a seat. Have a seat. Have a seat. Okay, so we're going to take off where we left off. Ready?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So your parents was aware that there was alcohol involved in it, but did they realize that eventually it's starting to take toll of you because you was put in that situation for that? I guess the long story to the question is, how did your parents address not only the fact that had came to you, but now they're aware that your alcohol may be a problem?
I don't think they really recognized that alcohol was a problem at that point, and a way of, well, that's a great question. I would have to talk to them a little bit more. I'm trying to remember because so much of that situation, that time frame is so blurry for me in a way. So it's hard for me to remember some of the details specifically when it comes to how my parents handled it. I know that they were there for me as much as they could be, and even my mom and I actually had a conversation about a year ago about it. And she was really just reflecting and hoping that she was there for me, how, I needed her to be. And I felt like she was completely. I was put through therapy, which at the time, I don't really remember how it helped or didn't help, but
Right.
my parents were there for me as much as they emotionally could be. I felt comforted, that's for sure. But when it comes to the partying, I don't remember that portion of it, to be honest.
Your current husband, did you
Mhm.
know him during that time?
No.
Okay. I can't understand why grown men would be at let's call it what it is, a high school or junior high school party.
Probably. So she said it's a smaller town, so that's probably why. Usually, it's a smaller town, so
But then
usually
I agree with what
those.
you said too. Somebody in the town already knew
Oh yeah, they knew that there'd be younger individuals there.
that maybe she'll be there, and that
Yeah, they could have. They could have just scoped her at the party, but it's a smaller town, so things are a little bit more different than it is in urban areas. Things are get by a little bit easier.
How long did now you wind up getting in a car accident? How what was the time difference between what had just happened to the car accident? How much time had
Probably
lapsed?
that was about 6 years in between.
Okay. Were you still heavily medicating with the alcohol up to that point?
I was drinking still. I was still in the party phase doing all that. And, I wasn't drinking to where I was trying to get drunk and black out. I just was having fun. I just enjoyed the party. I enjoyed that lifestyle. But I just overdrank, and it got to the point eventually, like I said, I just started blacking out. But at that point, I had moved away for a little bit, and then I had moved back, and I was working about 45 minutes away as a bartender. And I went out with some friends after my shift and ended up getting in the car and drove home, made it almost all the way home. And then I woke up. There was a tree falling on my car, and I couldn't see where I was. I was on the phone with my sister, who thankfully at the time was at home at my parents'. They were living in Discovery Bay at that time too. And they came to try to find me, and they eventually found me. And then somebody else had stopped. Thankfully, like I said, nobody else was involved in that. I was already so shameful of what had happened. If anybody else was involved, I couldn't even imagine. So I'm so grateful that God didn't have anybody else involved in that.
Did you ever get incarcerated or locked up for public intoxication or being under the influence behind the wheel? Seemed like there would have been a consequence behind your action.
Yeah, so because somebody else saw what was going on, they stopped when my parents had gotten there, and then they called the cops. And so the cops came, they brought me downtown, and so I was there overnight, but they released me later that night because my parents were there. And so I was waiting for the DUI. I had hired a lawyer at the time, and months went by, and there was no case that was started. So again, I'm like, oh my God, I have no idea what happened there. I can only say that was God's hand in it, that I learned my lesson already just from that alone.
Yeah.
Because I had never driven drunk again after that.
So now the Lord, the universe, God, whatever, has given you 2 strikes, and you still didn't quite get the lesson. So what was the third one until you finally woke up?
The third one was my now husband, Ron. He was the one who finally opened my eyes, and he gave me that reality check when he said, this is not what I signed up for. This is not okay. And it wasn't that I was doing anything while I was blocked out as far as inappropriate in a way where.
Well, do you really know if it was inappropriate if you're blacked out and you're consuming to the point that you're blacked out? I don't think you know if you're doing anything, whether it be appropriate or inappropriate, because you and I'm not trying to bash you. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to do is paint a picture of what a substance can do to a person.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you really know if you're doing anything appropriate or inappropriate if the liquor is taking you to the point that you can even wake up and remember what just happened?
That's a great point. Yeah. And I think what I meant by that wasn't the right word, I guess I should say, because what made Ron have that conversation with me was because I started fights with him all the time while I was blacked out. So it wasn't that I was dancing on tables and doing things like that in any way. So that was the wrong word that I used, because it wasn't appropriate for me to still be arguing with him and starting fights and drama when it was only because of the alcohol that had.
Did you even remember fighting with your husband?
Sometimes I do. Other times I don't.
What was your reaction when you did the part that you did remember and you went to? How did you come to him? Did you, because to me, I'm just asking. See,
Mhm.
like if I knew my behavior and I can remember some of it, and I got to go to my significant other and say, "Damn, honey, I fucked up last night. I didn't realize." Did you? Thank you for the download. Did you ever take accountability for that when you did go to him?
Every time. Every time I took accountability. And I think the more I experienced it and the more I would wake up feeling like, what did I do last night? What did I say? I felt the guilt and the shame consistently more and more every time that we would go out and party, because I know that it had happened so many times before. When I didn't remember, I would wake up feeling like, what drama did I start last night? And it was the most guilty, shameful feeling. And that's what really convicted me. Like, he doesn't deserve this, and this isn't okay. And so I would go to him apologizing every single time, taking accountability. But it was, I mean, it was embarrassing. It was really embarrassing.
How did you change? You guys have children?
I have 2 stepchildren. We don't have any together.
How did you, I can already say, how did you change the narrative? Because I get what she's saying. You're making I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, but you're not putting action behind the thought. So what was the final blow that he's like, you know what? Enough is enough. You're giving me the sorries, but you're not doing that. We're still going to the parties. You're still being angry upon consumption. When did you say, okay, I'm got to start putting some action behind this shit?
As soon as he had that conversation with me is when my eyes opened up and I started to slow down, and I became so aware of even when I started getting buzzed whatsoever, because I was so terrified of getting to that point. Because whenever I would black out before, it was always just a quick shift of like, I was feeling okay, and then all of a sudden I was blacked out. And there was like that no in between of just like slowly going down. I was just gone. So I was terrified of even feeling buzzed in order to prevent like getting to that point. And so I started to just, I started to say no more. I stopped going out as much. I I just was so scared of even starting to get that buzzed feeling that I just wouldn't even do it. But the first thing that I started when we did go out, because I didn't stop right away, I would recognize like these small things that would get me there like faster. So I love straws. I know this sounds so silly. I love straws, but when you drink out of a straw, you drink so much faster. And so then I would be drinking more. So I stopped drinking out of a straw. I started drinking more water whenever we had any kind of drinks, because I just wanted to prevent that feeling of getting buzzed. And so it was a slow progression of becoming aware,
Mhm.
and then it just led to just wanting to stop altogether, because now I'm like, I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy feeling buzzed. I have that shameful like position where I don't want to ever get there again. So it progressed over that to where I'm like, I just want to stop.
How has that made you? How has that made you feel with your life going forward now?
Now it's amazing. It was a hard transition because, we were still with that group of people that was in the party phase and in the social light. And um, being able to say no, like it took a lot of me out of me to like be confident in saying no, because people gave me a really hard time for not drinking.
Mhm.
And so I had to decide to remove myself from those situations. And I think it was such a blessing that work had gotten so crazy that we weren't going out as much because we were so focused on work.
Right.
And so the timing was amazing
Mhm.
to help me out with that and to not be going out as much at all, and to really get me confident in my decision and deciding not to drink, because now I can say no and no problem. And even if people are giving me a hard time and pressuring me to drink or take a shot,
Right.
I will gladly say no and just tell them why if they even ask. And I'm so confident in myself now because I have such clarity. I have so much energy. I'm such a better person now, being able to live out my calling and my purpose without alcohol. Because
Right.
I believe that God was knocking on my door so many times because he couldn't use me while I was in that mess. But
Right.
I believe that he brought me through that now. So then it's my testimony. He's gotten me through that to get me to where I am now, and it's made me stronger. But I'm so confident now in myself being able to not have a drink, and I have that clarity and the energy. I feel amazing now.
Don't that make you kind of like, you got any questions you want to ask my co-host?
No, I'm just actually just captivated by your story.
You
So
know
I'm
what
just soaking it all in.
You know what I think is funny? I think we talked about this too on one of the episodes is haters, the negative energy drainers.
Mm-hmm.
You would think that your girlfriends, your crew, I would think that my buddies at work, Scott, all of them would, if I had something that was hindering me as a person,
that they would say something.
That they would say something to me and say, "Hey, Dre, check this out. Hey, Elizabeth, check this out. You know, you're not cool when you're drinking. You know what I mean? This is your behavior. You know, it took your now husband to come to you and say something like this. So how do you reevaluate the people that's in your structure? Because evidently they're not your friends because they seen your actions repetitively and refuse to say something to you.
You know, I believe that God has us in our circles for a season sometimes, and he'll bring us out of them. And so I don't think that those people were truly my friends. Like you said, they never brought anything up to me. They never had my back in it. And a lot of them are still partying to this day. And so I've grown so far out of that. But now I was removed from it. And then sometimes every now and then I'll get put back in that circle, but I believe I'm put back in so then I can share with them the life-changing decision of not drinking and changing your lifestyle, of how it can affect your everyday life. Some people listen, some people don't. But I made a hard pivot with my social circles, and I'm really picking out who I'm around, because if you're not going to tell me what's good for me, then why should I put myself around you? You know, because I'd want to do that for somebody else. So
every now and then I tell people, I shake my tree every year. Sometimes I shake it every 6 months. And if I dropped you, don't take it personally. Don't take it personally. You're not part of the growth process that I see for myself and what I see for the people that's involved in my life. We need to be going in the same direction. What do you got to say? You've been too quiet. She's a comedian, professional comedian.
I'm just
told a
soaking
joke
up her
yet.
story, but with her whole situation with the friend circuit, and she feels God's involved and stuff like that. You know, it may take 1 to 2 to 3 times for her to come in that circle for the person to actually see. They may never see it. You know, they may miss that sign, but she continues to live her truth and continue to do well.
Do you resonate with anything? Does any of this reflect on you?
Yeah, she's resilient. And that is a beast mentality, is being able to rise above an assault of some sort and then rise above an addiction. Because what people don't understand from a psych proportion, addiction is a lifelong battle. So yeah, she's a year and a half out, but 3-5 years, you have to constantly make that choice to say, I'm not.
How much more tougher is it going to be for this young lady knowing she's only a year out? Luckily, she has a good support group with her husband.
Honestly, with her support system, and honestly with her mentality now, she's going to do fairly well, because it's most of the people who relapse are people without good support systems.
Jamie, what do you think the most difficult part is going to be for you? Evidently, you're doing good with your podcast, which we're going to talk about in a few seconds. But what do you think the biggest struggles are going to be for you with only a year in of and congratulations on that. But what do you think the most toughest part is going to be for you?
Thank you. I actually have had some moments where I'm like, oh, I just miss like that glass of wine at night, And so I've had those thoughts every now and then, but then I instantly think of how I would feel if I were to have that. And just like that feeling of being buzzed again takes me back to that shameful space that I just don't even want to affiliate with anymore. So it instantly pulls me out of it. And it's so amazing. There's so many bars now that have like awesome mocktail lists on their cocktail list. And I think it's becoming more prevalent that more people aren't drinking now. And so there's these other alternatives that you can choose just to enjoy something. And even putting like a the sparkling water in a wine glass. Like there's something about just drinking out of a wine glass that makes you feel good. It's not even about the wine. So it's like, if I could shift like little things like that just to enjoy something. And that's what brings me out of it. Every time I just bring myself back to that thought of, okay, I don't want to feel that way. So I will instantly change that desire. And that'll go away completely.
Now, before we wrap up, and thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to bless the studio with your presence and coming on the show. Let's talk about something a little bit more.
I want to hear about this podcast.
Yeah, let's talk about
interested.
the podcast. What about the ideal of real talk, and how does this resonate to what you've gone through? Tell me a little bit about the podcast.
Rooted Real Talk. Yes. So I truly believe that your pain is turned into purpose, and God will use all of your pain in your past to turn it into purpose. And so I believe that everything I've been through and overcome is something that somebody else is going through or will go through. So if I can help them overcome that faster and conquer it faster, then that is what I'm going to do. So the podcast is all faith-based conversation. It's all rooted back into scripture, but on topics of things that life will just hit you in the face with, like turning your test into testimony and come as you are, but don't stay as you are. There's so many things that we are facing in life that you can just root it all back into scripture, because the Bible is life's map. You can just find everything there. And so it's all faith-based conversation, having real talks about things that I've experienced, how I've overcome it, and there to just help other people get through the things that they're experiencing.
How have you been received with social media? Because usually when you talk about things that are faith-based or spiritual based, you've always seemed to be met with somebody's always going to get in your inbox. Mm-hmm. What's been the most toughest part of that for you? Because naturally you're going to have people get in and say, oh, that's blah, 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 blah. Have you been met with that currently?
I haven't been met with it too much. And so that's why I'm like, maybe I need to be louder because I think that, Christians we are expected to be persecuted. And so I'm like, I need to get my voice out there louder for the word and for God. I haven't really experienced much of that. I have a little bit here and there, but not too much. So I am expecting it, but again, I'm very new. So we'll see what happens.
Honestly, if I have one advice for you when it comes to that situation is come in like the lamb, don't come out like the lion. Not everybody has had the shared experience that you have. So if you're going to reach a multi-mass people, they've been let down by faith-based communities before. So I would actually try and take that into heart with a gentle heart, because sometimes not everybody has been able to receive the message and or have their message appreciated back, So that would be my advice to me. If you're gonna grow, know walking in that there is a multitude of people that you're going to be dealing with a lot of different experiences. It's easily to say we're going to be persecuted for our beliefs, but they've been persecuted for theirs too.
Yeah, I like the way you said that. Okay, maybe that's the reason why you're sitting in the chair today. Jamie, thank you so much for taking time to come on the show. How can the viewers reach out to you? How can they follow the podcast and follow your journey?
Yes, my podcast and everything is on jamiemallek.org. You can also find me on social media. I'm mainly on Instagram at Jamie Mallek.
I love it.
And before we wrap up, how can the viewers reach out to you and tell what you got going on? You're a comedian. You're a therapist, you're a registered nurse. I mean, your medical stuff is out. Right.
Well, actually, I'm on Instagram under Elizabeth Urquhart 80, and you can actually see me on my comedy clips. And then my Facebook is Elizabeth Reynolds. And then my TikTok is Eliz Reynolds 87. So you can I can't post too much of my comedy on TikTok because of community guidelines. So most of the time it'll be on Instagram, but a lot of my messages are both between TikTok and Insta.
All right, you haven't told a joke yet. Give us a joke before we get out of here.
Well,
give us a joke.
Like what type of joke?
Give us the stuff that's been banned off of TikTok.
Oh, jeez. Let's see here.
Let's cut the throat.
Well, fine. I'll do my joke that I say in gynecology. I call the gynecology visit the clam tax.
Okay.
All right. So, essentially when we go into the room and you're on the table and they're always like, scooch down further, scooch down further. Everybody knows, right? So then you're balancing and your butthole's puckering because you're balancing. And then you have some smiley little assistant, Jennifer, saying, just relax. It's not a trip to the spa. And then you've got the speculum, which is the jaws of life, and it's literally opening you up and it clamps to your vagina. And she's like, just relax. Okay, fuck you twice, Jennifer. It's not going to happen, but okay. That's all I got for you on the spot.
So how can they reach out and see you again?
Actually, I'm on the local south side. I usually post to my Instagram where my local shows are.
Okay, thank you so much for taking time.
No, I'm completely blessed to be here, and I'm completely blessed to share time and space with Miss Mallek here. Good luck on your sobriety.
Jamie,
keep having that beast mode
keep having that beast mindset going. Jamie, thank you so much for being on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another, and I do mean another, say it with me, exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show.